What's up, everyone? Today we're talking about something that's literally reshaping how developers work. OpenAI just dropped GPT-5.3 Codex, and the developer community is absolutely buzzing. This isn't just another model update. This is a fundamental shift in how we interact with artificial intelligence coding assistants. Here's what makes this moment so important. For the first time ever, we have a coding model that you can actually talk to while it's working. Imagine collaborating with a teammate who never gets tired, never gets frustrated, and can work on millions of lines of code. That's what we're dealing with here. In the next 20 minutes, I'm going to break down exactly why GPT-5.3 Codex is dominating conversations in every developer community right now. By the end of this video, you'll understand not just what makes this model powerful, but how you can leverage it to transform your own development workflow. So let's dive in. Let's start with what everyone's talking about. The most viral topic around GPT-5.3 Codex isn't the benchmarks. It's not even the speed improvements. It's something far more profound. This model helped build itself. Think about that for a second. GPT-5.3 Codex was instrumental in creating GPT-5.3 Codex. The team at OpenAI used early versions of this model to debug its own training process, manage its own deployment, and diagnose its own test results. This is recursive self-improvement in action. This is the kind of capability that people use to only talk about in theoretical discussions about artificial general intelligence. But here's why this matters to you as a developer. If a model is capable enough to improve itself, it's definitely capable enough to improve your code. The same reasoning abilities that helped it optimize its own architecture can help you optimize your applications. Now, let's talk about what makes this different from the old Codex model. The original Codex was impressive for its time, but it was essentially a very smart autocomplete tool. GPT-5.3 Codex changes everything. This is the first truly interactive coding model. You can actually steer it while it's working. You can interrupt it mid-execution. You can redirect it without losing context. It's like pair programming with someone who has perfect memory and infinite patience. Here's a concrete example. Let's say you're building a web application and you ask Codex to create a user authentication system. With GPT-5.3 Codex, you can watch it work in real time. If you see it heading in the wrong direction, you can jump in and say, actually, I want to use JSON web tokens instead of session cookies. And it pivots immediately without losing track of everything else it was building. This real-time collaboration is generating massive excitement. You're not just using a tool anymore. You're working with a collaborator. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. On the exact same day that OpenAI released GPT-5.3 Codex, Anthropic released Claude Opus 4.6. The timing wasn't accidental. Both companies have been racing toward this moment, and now we're seeing what the tech community is calling the Great Convergence. Codex is designed as an interactive collaborator. Claude Opus, on the other hand, is more autonomous and agentic. It wants you to give it a high-level goal and then let it work independently. Neither approach is objectively better. They're optimized for different workflows. If you like to stay in the loop, Codex is your model. If you prefer to delegate, Opus might be your preference. The benchmarks tell an interesting story too. GPT-5.3 Codex scores 77.3% on TerminalBench 2.0. That beats Claude Opus 4.6. But more importantly, it achieves state-of-the-art performance on SWE-Bench Pro, which spans 4 programming languages and is industry relevant. Here's why these benchmarks matter. They're not just academic exercises. SWE-Bench Pro tests real-world software engineering tasks, the kind of stuff you actually do in production environments. Code reviews, bug fixes, feature implementations, refactoring legacy code. Codex excels at all of it. Now let's talk about speed. OpenAI introduced a variant called GPT-5.3 Codex Spark, and it's absolutely blazing fast. We're talking about 15 times faster generation. More than 1,000 tokens per second. Let that sink in. That's faster than most humans can read, let alone write code. This speed boost comes from a completely new hardware partnership. OpenAI is running Codex Spark on Cerebras wafer-scale chips. The Cerebras WSE 3-chip contains 4 trillion transistors. That's 19 times more transistors than the NVIDIA B200. It delivers 125 petaflops of AI compute. Why does this matter? Because it shows OpenAI is thinking strategically about infrastructure diversity. They're not putting all their eggs in one basket. And for users, it means access to incredibly fast inference that makes real-time collaboration actually feel real-time. There's no lag, no waiting, just smooth, continuous interaction. Let's get practical now. What are people actually using GPT-5.3 Codex for? Because that's where the rubber meets the road. I've been digging through developer communities. First, autonomous multi-day development. Developers are giving Codex high-level prompts like, build me a chess game, and then letting it work for days. Not hours, days. The model iterates over millions of tokens, building complex, fully functional applications from scratch. This is just the beginning of what we're seeing. In the next segment, we'll dive into specific case studies, from multiplayer games to massive legacy code reviews. Stay tuned for Part 2. Welcome back to Part 2. Let's get practical. What are people actually using GPT-5.3 Codex for? Because that's where the rubber meets the road. Enterprise development teams are using Codex to review entire code bases. One fintech company ran their legacy system, hundreds of thousands of lines, through the model. Codex identified security vulnerabilities that had existed for years and reduced their database query load by 40%. It even found subtle race conditions. Third, learning and education. New developers are using Codex as an interactive tutor. Instead of documentation, they ask Codex to explain concepts and show working examples. One junior developer told me they learned React in 2 weeks using Codex. Not just basics, but deep hooks, state management, and performance optimization. Fourth, debugging impossible problems. You know those bugs that make you want to throw your computer out the window? Codex is solving those by analyzing entire applications at once. One backend engineer found a memory leak that senior devs missed for 2 weeks. Codex identified it within minutes as a database connection pooling issue. We're entering what developers call the post-benchmark era. Benchmark scores used to be everything, but now actual performance in production environments is what matters. Developers are sharing real metrics and videos of themselves working. They're showing how it fits into their actual daily drive, not just a leaderboard. One developer put it perfectly. I'm entering my Codex era. Prior to this, I used AI for hard tasks. Now it's my daily driver. That's the validation that counts. Another reported 0 build errors on a major redesign task where other models failed. With Codex, everything just worked. That's real-world validation. Let's talk about infrastructure. OpenAI announced a 25% speed improvement across the board. This is pure optimization that makes every response snappier. Every API call is faster. Every response is snappier. When you're working interactively, these milliseconds add up to a conversation that flows naturally. OpenAI is positioning Codex as more than a coding assistant. They're calling it a general-purpose agent that can do nearly anything developers can do on a computer. Think about that. Not just writing code, but managing dependencies, configuring pipelines, writing documentation, and creating tests. The entire spectrum. Early reports suggest this is more than hype. One DevOps engineer used it to automate their entire CI/CD pipeline. It understands terminal commands and file systems. This represents a fundamental shift. We're moving from AI as a specialized tool to AI as a collaborative team member that can handle complex, diverse tasks. So, the real question, should you switch to GPT-5.3 Codex? If you're not using AI coding assistants at all yet, start now. The productivity gains are massive. If you're already using other tools, experiment with Codex alongside them. Different models have different strengths. Use the right tool for the job. One software consultancy reported that junior developers using Codex were completing tasks at speeds comparable to seniors by eliminating the mechanical work. We've seen the power, the benchmarks, and the real-world success stories.